Hello, everyone. Today we have an absolutely news-filled week. We've got high-profile hackers and breachers. We've got the end of the dynasties in Hyperdash, which we'll talk about that more later. And then lastly, we have some really interesting precedents in terms of moderation decisions from VRML, which we will get into. And yeah, we've got a ton more, and hopefully we can give you guys a new perspective on these topics. And yeah.
So what about those hacking allegations? I heard from our Breachers team that there's a bunch of players not in Hyperdash, but in Breachers that are currently abusing game mechanics and even using scripted softwares to play in comp. What about that?
Okay, so here is the really strange thing about this incident, is that we all three have played games made by Triangle Factory for years, many, many years. And when they make decisions, the decisions they make are usually pretty cut and dry. No questions asked. This is what's happening. We don't need to tell you because we're right. That's usually how Triangle Factory goes about it. And essentially, for those of you that missed it, I can't imagine who would have. I believe it was a couple days ago, the VRML announced, "Hello, everyone. We're banning a player for hacking." We've been handed down this ban from VRML.
What?
Or from Triangle Factory. We don't know why it's going on. I did some digging. They literally don't know what happened. They didn't ask. They weren't told. Even Frosty, the head of the league, he didn't ask, right?
Yeah, he doesn't know.
So the crazy part about this is that Triangle Factory is very certain, and everyone else has no idea what happened, right?
Right.
And so, of course, we did some digging, right? We looked into it as much as we could. So I cannot confirm whether it was hacking or what kind of hacking, but I can discuss the allegations and community wisdom, I suppose, from this scenario. So allegedly it was ESP, and allegedly this player installed or had some sort of Act client, and Triangle Factory has allegedly decided unilaterally that they are going to ban this player and probably offer no remorse or reconciliation.
Right.
Ever.
I mean,
because that's what Triangle Factory does.
The thing though, I feel like it's really scary to do something like that. As a person who plays a lot of comp games, imagine, even if you're hacking or maybe you're not hacking, one day you just get a DM from a developer saying that you are banned from all of our games, every single one, just out of nowhere, in the middle of, what is it now, quarterfinals? Like just in the middle of a very important league.
This player woke up, and according to the team, and I talked to the team that this incident occurred on, literally, I knew more about this from sniffing around than they did. They were not informed of any of this.
That's insane.
Which is wild to me. And that actually brings us to one of our first talking points. Do you think that this sort of ban, essentially where you ban someone and you don't say why, do you think that's an effective tactic?
Well,
you think it's
my opinion on it, hacking has been becoming more of a thing in VR, and there's no good anti-cheat that's stopping it. So yes, it was very spontaneous. I'm sure they were very surprised, but there has to be an example to be made, right? Someone has to be made an example of to show the other people that, look, we're going to ban you straight up, no warning, no nothing, if you're cheating in our game. So, just don't cheat, right? But this could also show, cheating in breachers has been a thing. I've always heard cheating allegations. There's been evidence of people literally tracking people through walls, right? It's actually insane. They don't even try to hide it. It's always been a thing. And we're like, one of the questions has always been like, when are we getting a good anti-cheat? So maybe Triangle Factory, maybe they're working on one, and they tested it. They saw this person was cheating, and they decided to ban this person. This person might have not been the only person cheating. I'm sure there's more than 10 other people. But maybe it was a test. Maybe they just want to make an example out of them. Maybe someone reported it with evidence directly to them. I don't know.
this was not some like pub stomping random person. This was a very high profile player. This was a person, you know what, in contention for money, in contention for good skins. This was not just some random. This is Triangle, in my opinion. This is Triangle Factory saying, "Hey, stop, or we will ruin your livelihood." Literally.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, no, they were very well known in the community. Everyone knew them. Everyone had their suspicions of them. I'm sure they had a lot of enemies on top of that. So
no, but it's a good scare tactic. And I mean, even though it is very scary to just randomly one day get banned, I think it's very valid. I know you two know a lot more about Breachers than I do. I know Takedo has played as the captain for a very good Breachers team. And I know Odd, you know, he peeks around in the community a lot. But for me, just from what I've heard, like different rumors and so on, there's a lot of cheaters out there. And there's a lot of cheating allegations. And having an example be made, finally, after all this time, is really good. Hopefully, we should see like a reality check, right, out of this. People will put their cheats down, and they will play the game like they were supposed to play the game. At least that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I mean, there's already been people banned like from VRML directly, but they did that with evidence that people have gotten them. Other players, they submitted evidence. They also have the rule to record your POV. But the issue with that is not everybody can handle recording and playing a game and keeping your performance up, right? Not everyone has a good PC to be able to do that. So that's always been another issue. How are you supposed to prove that you're not cheating if you can't record your screen because your PC can't handle it, and it'll be at the cost of your overall skill during the match? Imagine during a finals match, you're recording, you drop frames during a very important moment, and it's like a moment like you would have won, right? But because you're recording, because you're trying to prove that you're not cheating, you die, and you could probably cost the whole game.
I mean, it's the same for Quest 2 players. I mean, it's a hardware that it's very hard to record on Quest 2. I mean, I've seen some people do it, but either they lag like crazy, as you just said, or the recording is just awful. It's like 20 FPS, and it's just hard to see what's even going on. And considering the fact that, like, maybe 75% of the COM community are on Quest 2, that's a lot of people to account for. You know, forcing them all to record dropping frames during comp matches.
I mean, here's the thing is that I think this was about a week ago. I basically, some of the Acer players were telling me, "Hey, Odd, we're having a lot of trouble recording. It's really dropping our frame rates." And I basically said to them, "Okay, I'll see if I can talk to someone about that. I'll see if I can make a ticket or appeal this ruling." And essentially what I did, I talked to some of the VRML mods and admins, who, while some of you may not like them, in my experience, they're very friendly people. And they were like, "Hey, we understand your problem here, but really we can't risk cheating. We just can't risk it." And to that, what hindsight's 2020, I foolishly said, baloney. Nobody's cheating. Nobody in the top 10, top 20 would be cheating. And of course, now I look silly. I look like
little did he know.
Little did I know. Yeah. And on the topic of players knowing about other players cheating, I was able to find out that before the ban, some players already knew. Some players, not just players, moderators and players on top teams already knew about this. And my question is, how do players playing on teams that are also moderators, I mean, how do you balance that? Your league players are your volunteers, right? So how do you balance having those two forces without people declaring bias all the time? Right? What do you guys think about that?
Here's the thing, right? I feel like that's an ancient question. Like ever since not even esports, ever since people started doing sports, there's always been the question, should these people that decide rules be allowed to play as competitive players, right? And as someone who has played VR for a very long time, I've played maybe 10 plus different leagues across 4 or 5 games. I've seen a lot of examples of this. It's not super common, but there are moments where you have high-ranking league players or moderators that claim that they're not making biased decisions, but they very clearly make small ones. They nudge a decision in a certain direction in order for them to win or for their friends to win or something like that, which is very unfortunate. But my professional opinion on it, I do not like when competitive players are also moderators, referees, or league admins that have full control over the different rulings, or the league in general. At least that's how I see it.
Yeah. I think here's my take: is that as long as the honest truth is that there's not enough people in this community, in any community, right, to have people that are independent from playing and administrating to have a healthy growing community. I think that honestly the best thing you can do is have a lot of transparency, and I respect the leagues that do this but publicize everything very much,
sure.
even though they know that publicity will lead to people being like blah 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 blah, we hate this decision, we hate that decision. But I think that's part of the reason that Triangle Factory says, here it is, it's done.
Yeah, exactly. No, Takedo, do you have any opinions on board bias, on admins doing biased stuff?
Man, it's really hard to be on a team and be a mod at the same time. You'll always get accused if there's any scandal going on. I know we had a scandal once during early breachers. We Acer and I forgot their name. We played in VREL breachers. There was a situation when they first introduced the bot takeover, right? It was literally we had a game, we had a league match the same day they put that in. There wasn't any rules in yet. It was like within 2 to 3 hours. Obviously, we kind of abused it. There was no rule against it. We're like, we're gonna use bot takeover, right? We had one of our players jump out at the other person. It was a whole thing. But the main thing was the other team that we were playing against had VREL moderators on their team. It was like one or two at least. So we were a little worried. We were obviously like, this is a little biased, right? Because the people that were asking for our footage, that's another thing. They were asking for our footage. The other team that we just played against wanted our footage of the whole game. This reveals a lot of stuff. It reveals our plays, our strats, our how we communicate. They can easily find. So that's like another thing. You're a moderator on a rival team asking for footage of that team. People can easily abuse that, or you can accuse them of abusing, like, oh, you just want to use our footage to study us later. That was our main concern. We were like, they're gonna study our stuff. It's gonna be a whole thing. So it's really hard to be a moderator on a good team. But I mean, how are you gonna find good moderators that aren't players?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
so it's just moderators
you'll never passionate. You want to be passionate about the game. That's the best way of having it. You don't want mods that never play the game, never play comp, that don't really comprehend what's actually happening.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Right. So let's move on to our next topic. We're in Hyperdash, right? So we're going to talk about Hyperdash a little bit next. I am calling most recent season in Dash League. This is season 8. Is it season 8?
Already?
Season 7?
God.
I don't know. It's some season,
something
some
like
really
that.
high season. This season is the first season where none of the top 3 teams that used to basically honestly steal all the talent, none of them are still in existence, or even some amalgamation of them. All of the top players have been scattered to the wind. The prize pool is dead, right? This is a totally new era for Dash League and Hyperdash. And I'm just wondering, what do you guys think of this? Do you think it's going to kill Hyperdash? Do you think it's going to keep it alive? What do you think this does?
I think it's hard to say, really. There aren't, all the good players aren't on the same team anymore. They're scattered. They're on all these different teams. I think it's going to make it more fair. All the teams are actually going to have a chance at making the top 3. Whereas before it was like a huge skill gap. They packed so there's Dasher, Sprinter, and Walker. The top 3 were basically on a whole nother like tier above that.
Yeah,
it was crazy. Almost. So I think this season we're gonna see more of a fair league outcome, right? Lateralis made an announcement. He said he struggled with choosing the teams for Sprinter and Walker or something like that.
Yeah,
so
which is good.
Yeah, we have all these good players that are going down to Sprinter or Walker teams because sometimes these players, they've been playing for a long time. 8 seasons, right? Or around 8 seasons. They've been playing for a long time. They don't really want to keep being that competitive anymore. They just want to chill.
No.
They just want to relax. But when these top names go down to Walker teams, how do you balance that out with like Sprinter teams, right? Like to begin the season. So that's another thing. But yeah, I think it'll be a lot more fair. Teams will be more motivated because they actually have a chance. So I think it'll be a lot.
Here's the thing. I have a slightly different opinion on that. I think that history repeats itself. Even if we have a situation where the prize pool money is gone, right? I believe for this season, they are giving out the prize pool money. Not really giving out. They're putting it into buying like cosmetics and merch for all the top teams. So you're not really winning money anymore. But as someone who played Rec Room, same with the Keto, we didn't play for money either. We played for that ego. Even though there was nothing to win, we still played in order to win. You won nothing. All you won was the pride and the fame of winning a league, right? And sometimes that's just a personal goal. And I think that maybe next season we're going to see a very fair and balanced season. But season after that, or the season after that, we're going to see these new top players clumped together into another top 3 teams. Really, that's what I think. I'm not entirely sure, but I just feel like that's usually how this type of stuff goes. But I guess we'll have to find out.
Yep, we can only wait and see, really.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
But from a professional standpoint, I'd say that Acer might eventually return. Maybe. Depending on how they do these other seasons, we might come back and play another season again.
Yeah. Yep. And we only do it for money.
Do you think we're more... Do you think we're more gaining something in... Here's what I'm thinking. When we were in the era of D and ARC and TMNM, we would witness some pretty spectacular games. I mean, games where it's like, 5 military combatants going together. They're like super organized, super trained.
Right.
And then, but the matches were never fair, really. They were never, there was really no question of, at least at the top, there was no question of who would win. It was D, it was TMNM, and it was ARC. That's how it was.
Always.
But I think now that these teams are dead, all their players are scattered, we're going to gain something that might be better. I think we might gain some actually tense and interesting games.
Hopefully.
And I think
after
that's
8 seasons.
Better. I'm going to be honest.
Took a while, but we're finally there.
Finally, it's going to get good, guys. And you guys should all tune into Dash League, tune into Hyperdash. It's a fantastic game. Yeah,
maybe even get into Hyperdash.
I mean, it's this last episode, right? This game is free. You can get in here right now. It's fully free.
Right now. Yeah. Come right
Which
here.
Is unbelievable.
Your ass. No.
Yeah, I mean, Hyperdash has one of the most amazing communities out there. Not just the public community, but the comp community as well. It's a very loving community, very welcoming. You can be a very toxic player from Breachers, and you could get in here, and you will instantly be humbled, and you'll meet a lot of very nice people who will... even if you are toxic, they will easily welcome you to the community. It's such a lovable place. Even if you're playing comp or if you're just playing for fun, it's really fun.
Yeah. All right. So, do you guys want to talk a little bit about VRML? We have, I think, basically 3 VRML topics that we could get into.
We can talk about the recent one.
We could talk about the precedent they set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what happened there, Odd? You seem more informed about this than us.
All right. So here's what happened. In the last couple of days, VRML decided to ban and publicly announce the banning of 3 players. These players were banned for, interestingly, toxicity and racism, but not necessarily within VRML servers. Just broadly toxicity and racism. And what this means is that they've set a precedent that says, hey, we don't care where you are. If you are doing something that represents our league poorly and your name is attached to it at all, if we know it's you, we will ban you. and we don't care. And there was a little bit of a debacle with these bans, which we'll get to later. But yeah, what do you guys think about this precedent? This precedent that even in your own private home, you can't call someone slurs is essentially what they've said.
I agree. I agree with the racism part. That should not be tolerated at all, be it in private setting or public. The thing I'm a little iffy about is the toxicity part. You're playing competitive games at top levels. Like people pour a lot of time into this. I feel like part of it is the toxicity, right? The banter, the shit talk. You say, "Oh, we're better than you guys," and that gives motivation to like sometimes when people know, oh, these two teams, they don't like each other, and then there's an upcoming game, right? There's an upcoming game we're about to see. They're gonna settle it. All this banter, the shit talk that they've been having back and forth, it's about to be settled in one game, and I feel like that makes it more. What's it called? People are going to want to tune into that. It'll be more enjoyable. So I think obviously you don't want too much toxicity. You don't want people to go too overboard. I think leaving a little bit of toxicity is fine and healthy for a league. It makes things interesting. And that's my opinion.
I have a slightly different opinion. I fully agree on all the racism stuff. If you would say something extreme, it doesn't matter where. Your own friend group, your own, like at your own home, it doesn't matter. If you're saying fucked up things, right, you should be banned from communities that don't represent these things. But when it comes to, as the kiddo said, toxicity or maybe even cheating, right? If you're breaking league rules outside of the league, maybe in a different Discord server unrelated to the league, maybe in a different game, maybe you cheated once in like Pavlov like years ago. I don't think that should get you banned in VRML now. Because the thing is, I have had a couple players on teams I've played for before Acer, that have gotten banned due to things that they did fully outside of competitive. Sure, they were wrong things to do, but it ended up biting them in the ass like a year later for something they did in a different game, something they no longer stand for, and something that they hated that they did. Yet that ends up banning them in a league that has nothing to do with that, which I'm not a big fan of.
I think that's especially relevant in lieu of VRML's recent expansion. They announced on the 10th that they will be opening an X8 league, which, Taquito, you put this in our talking points. Essentially, they're monopolizing VR Esports, right? And so
someone had to do it.
You get banned. I mean, if you get banned from contractors 4 years ago, you're still banned in the next greatest shooter game, like X8. And so, I mean, what do you guys think about that monopolization? You think that's good? You think it's better for players or worse for players? Obviously, it's hard for us to speak because we're a big organization. But
it's worse for players that have a bad past. But how is that the majority of players? No. For the majority of players, it's a good thing that this league is getting all these games into like making a league for these games that everyone is playing, right? There's a lot of different VR communities, a lot of different VR leagues, and VRML is really bringing them all together, and they're doing a really good job at it. VRML has a really, really good system at setting up stuff, really good moderators, really good rule sets. They have good sponsors, right? And they have a really, really good reputation. So I think for the majority of players, it's a good thing, and a really good thing for the future of VR esports.
I mean, you got to think about the people that are playing VR now, right? Most people are 15, 14, 15, 16. Most competitive players are pretty young. And the thing is, when you're at that age, a person who is 15 is not comparable to the same person who is 16.
No,
a lot of stuff happens at that age during only a single year. So let's say, as you said, someone gets banned in contractors because of some stupid things they did as a 13. That shouldn't hold up. Even if you got a permanent ban, it shouldn't hold up 2 years later in a different game. At least that's how I see it, because I feel like there's a lot of people out there that change. They learn from their mistakes and they become a completely new person.
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense because a lot of VR, like I talked with a guy who literally a year ago I rejected for a Breachers team that I was running, And I was like, oh, hey, I recognize you. I turned you down from my Breachers team. And he was like, oh, yeah, I totally forgive you that. I was a stupid piece of shit back then.
Yeah.
And I was really mean and my reputation was horrible. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, and that was only a year.
Clearly grown a lot over a year. Yeah. And so I think that, I don't know, it makes sense for an organization of VRML size to basically said, you did this thing, goodbye forever, sorry.
Right.
But I don't know if it's I don't think it's I think it's the best they can do. It's effective, it's the best they can do. I don't know how fair it is, especially for a growing young player base like we have in VR right now, which we have to cater to. It's all we got.
Exactly. And with that being said, I do want to bring up Vail VR because we do have in about a month from now, we have the Vail VR release. Finally, after playing the game for 2 years. And thankfully, this release has a lot of really fun stuff, at least with what I've heard. A lot of fun stuff coming out. And on top of that, they are doing this gigantic media release thing where they are just advertising the game everywhere, right? Yep. I've seen multiple really famous VR YouTubers being in on this thing. And I do want to bring up as well that Acer, as an org, we will be doing some stuff there too. We got some fun videos coming up, along with an interview with a very, very interesting person that should hopefully release by the time of the Vail release date. But other than that, do you guys have anything to say about that?
I'm so happy that a VR focused company, that a VR team, whatever, is finally doing pushes for content. I say this at Acer, and I really mean it. I bug you too about this all the time. I was like, content.
You sure does. Right?
And I think that VR games need to do the same thing. You guys need to make your game like a cultural phenomenon. You need to make it popular. You need to make people want to play it and get into it. And I think finally, Vail is saying, you know what? We're going to be the next big esports. Everyone's going to play our game. It's going to be great. We already have a pretty hefty player base, so it's not going to fall flat like some VR MMOs I could mention. And after this big push, I'm really hopeful for the future of Vail. Honestly.
I mean, we can all hope that Vail manages to get that title of CSGO VR, the same way we have Breachers, that is basically Rainbow Six Siege in VR. Being able to do so would be absolutely amazing. I mean, people would look at CSGO and they're like, oh, there's a VR version of this, Vail VR. It's very similar, as the same game modes and etc. But I definitely like that they're pushing out the game a lot more. We have seen the player base just skyrocket the past couple months, which is extremely fun. You could hop into a pub and you'll meet a lot of really nice people. You could help coach, teach them about the different weapons and so on. And I honestly cannot wait to see what they're actually going to release. You know, I've heard some rumors about some new maps, some new weapons, maybe even a new game mode, which is, you know, we've been waiting a long time for a big update like that. But I know it's going to be amazing for sure.
More variety is always good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And especially with VRML too, right? We have VRML Vail launching up.
Yeah.
Launching up right now. Yeah. By the time this video is out, they will have their season started.
The first week of the preseason is starting up.
Yeah.
And a month after that is the beginning of season 1, which is going to start with a $10,000 prize pool.
Yeah, which is insane.
That's it might increase the minimum 10K
minimum. Yeah.
So
that's pretty huge.
Yeah,
that's pretty huge.
On top of hardware, right? They're going to be giving out hardware and stuff like that. Accessories,
probably VRML is they're sponsored by HyperX, and HyperX has some really nice headsets on top of that. So it's exciting. You know, people love to receive things, right? People, especially the younger people, right? We like to receive, like, who wouldn't want to get a package of a cool headphones that you won from grinding a game?
Exactly.
Video games
on top of getting money.
So look at the first IVRL season. You know, the care packages; those things were brilliant.
Oh yes,
you know, that was those of you who don't know, IVRL Season 1 in Vail VR, they gave out like a big care package full of a bunch of different things, like stickers and some cool posters and etc. And they gave out these packages to every single league player that qualified. And I don't remember how many, but it was certainly hundreds of players that they shipped out full-on care packages to, which was just unbelievable. And I can say it was really fun to get one of these boxes. As you said, like, people love winning something and getting something that they can actually hold in their hand.
Yeah, nice little goodies of little accessories. It's always fun.
Yeah,
Nice
exactly.
to have.
Yeah.
Speaking of exciting little things, we also got the mod for Lethal Company, right? Lethal Company has been a really successful game from these past, what is it, like 3, 4, 5 months. It's been having one of the biggest player bases. I think you mentioned it was top 3 most played in Steam the other day.
Oh yeah, it's insane.
Number 2, that's insane. Yeah, there was the VR mod that got released, and we actually hosted for the internal Acer Incorporated. We hosted a Lethal VR event where we all got into Lethal Company and played it in VR, and that was really fun. We had a lot of nice clips from that. And the full VR mod, because we had an early version of it, or early access version that took kind of a while to set up for some players, or for some of us, but now the full actual mod is out, and it's really easy to download.
Yeah,
and
I mean, I really
when we were playing
team bonding.
Yeah, no, it was really good team bonding.
Amazing.
Yeah, we had players that you never would have thought interacting in Lethal Company VR. So that was really cool to see. And that's another thing we mentioned. We talked about in the first episode. Odd, you talked about how things like these, or things like this, bring players together. This like the social aspect of VR. Put a pause on the competitive side of VR and just enjoy a game together. People like that you've never would expect, just communicating and talking and having a good time.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And I think it's a really fun thing to do, especially here at Acer as an organization. We have, I believe, 49 players that are playing competitive under Acer. 49 roster spots with 49 players, not counting the raid thing. And out of those 49, I'm pretty sure we had 20 people? 20 people of our own players. Yeah, it was an army of Acer competitive players from all over the VR world, right? Just playing Lethal Company together, screaming in horror together, and it was extremely fun. It was extremely fun.
Yeah, no, it was such a fun game. Like Lethal Company in VR felt like it was made for VR. It had such good controls and everything. Just put aside the lag, but I think the lag was from having 20 people in the lobby.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was super scary. The monsters were, I can barely handle scary games, but in VR it's 10 times worse. So it was really cool. It was a really good experience that I recommend anyone who has Lethal Company and a VR headset to try. It's really cool.
Certainly, yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe we can run another one in the future, or multiple ones. But instead of just doing Acer only, we could do it in our Discord server, which should be down in the comments. I think so, at least. We host different events. And we will hopefully host another one like that, but for anyone to attend to, not just Acer players.
And not just Lethal Company VR.
Yeah,
you can do other games.
Yeah, did you guys hear, there was recently a Unity injector, I believe, that basically gave mod to support to tens of thousands of games.
Yeah,
and it's whoa, I can now just play my favorite game in VR, which is my favorite medium. And I think this is really promising for the future of VR. I think, Apple Vision Pro, I think that advancements at CES, Thrillseeker has a great video. All of these crazy new things for VR. I think this is good progress. I think that we're really starting to finally go somewhere.
Yeah, finally.
Anything that reaches every single part of the world of gaming to bring people into VR. This is definitely a really good step into that direction.
This year is the best year for VR. Same way the previous year was the best year for VR. It's just expanding and expanding, which is really fun to see. Which we did discuss in the last episode of the podcast too. A lot of fun stuff happening.
A lot of exciting stuff going to happen too. Speaking of exciting stuff, Strayed actually not really that exciting.
It's not really
It got delayed. They delayed it. Yeah. They delayed Strayed again. Who would have thought? It was supposed. When was it supposed to be released? On the what day of the month?
10th or something, 11th.
The 10th of January, 11th of January.
Like that.
They ended up delaying it, but for a good reason. And I think it's really, really good. I think Odd, you mentioned this. It's really good that developers recognize that their game isn't ready to be sold for $20.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
So, do you want to touch up on that?
Yeah, we had this discussion in our Stray channel. That's basically, it was like, oh gosh, Stray got delayed again. How can these people keep doing this? And then some people were basically like, yeah, whatever. I would rather. I think it's crazy that 3 people. A lot of people are like game developers. It's like, no, it's 3 humans in a studio with no money. They're doing this because they love it, right? It's like us. They sit there, they work all day, they work a hell of a lot harder than we do, and they make this game for people to yell and critique. It's like, no, you know what? Let them make their game. They'll sell it when it's ready. Just, it's okay, right? It's fine. We can wait.
It's an astonishing project. As you said, 3 people, they get no money out of this, and they're remaking Rust in VR. One of the biggest titles for multiplayer, like even competitive stuff as well. Rust is famous, very famous, and they are deciding to remake that 3 people just for fun, no funding, which is just
they're doing a good job too.
Yeah, and I think they're on pace. I see them push out updates and fixing bugs, 3 times as fast as other game developers that have very, very large funding, which is amazing to see. So even with a very angry community, I think that game has a lot of potential.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
But then again, like we mentioned in the first episode, they didn't expect that many people to join, at least that quick, right? They had that TikTok that just blew up, and they got over 500 new people in the server on launch day or launch of the open beta. So that was, I'm sure they were stressed. I'm sure they had a few heart attacks, but yeah, it's a promising game. I'm sure it's going to be very successful when they finish it. Maybe they hire a few more people to help them out. It's going to be really good. Really good game.
Yeah. I personally can't wait.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Do we want to come to the most recent VRML Slip-Up? This is no shame to VRML because they made a mistake and they fixed it pretty much immediately. But here's what happened.
And they owned up to it.
They owned up to it. They're like, we made a big mistake. We apologize. Here's the mistake. Remember earlier in the show when we talked about they banned these 3 players for toxicity and racism? And they banned them in a very similar way to how Triangle Factory bans. They said, you're banned. We don't have to give you evidence. We don't have to prove it. We're doing it. Here it goes. We have the evidence. That's all we care about. And basically, when they made that announcement, here's what the community said. Person A, sure, get them out of here. Racist. Person B, they are also racist. We don't like them. Person C is like a random innocent person. And there was outrage. It was crazy. And there was giant, like 6-hour slow mode type outrage. There was craziness in the chats. There was a lot of people yelling at a lot of other people, a lot of accusations, a lot of slinging of bias. And after finally they let the person see the footage of the accused, it was not him. It was a different person. Is what I hear.
That's
and
insane.
so here's the question: is that they announced that he was toxic? They said, "Hey, this guy's toxic. This guy's an asshole. He's racist. He's bad." And here's your announcement. He has no chance to appeal. And the community had to and I admit, I don't know. I think that VRML was planning to let him appeal anyway, to let him make a ticket, see the footage. But man, the mistake of falsely accusing a player of racism and just blocking everyone else out while it happens, that is not good. You do not want to do that. And I think that, frankly, this could have been avoided if they just went to him first and they said, "Hey, look at this. Talk to me." Right? I mean
you mentioned this earlier, right? You said it's all about transparency. And I fully agree with that. The thing is, we had, before VRML, we had IVRL that ran all the Vail leagues and stuff like that. And how IVRL did was that every time they banned someone or did any disciplinary action, they posted a big document containing a bunch of arguments, a bunch of different conclusions, and all the evidence. Every single piece of evidence was in this document. And it was very formal, and anyone could read it. It was publicly posted in the Discord chat. And in comparison to the VRML thing, I think it's very, very effective and very efficient to just carry out a ban like that, especially if they believe that these people did things wrong. I still prefer when a league is fully transparent, where they're actually giving out the evidence and the reasoning from why this person was actually banned. I feel like the community deserves to know, rather than the community being encouraged to believe that this person was racist, even though they have nothing to look at that actually claims so, except a simple announcement.
Yeah. Also, I want to quickly clarify, for those of you watching, I think that the announcement kind of worded it as toxicity and or racism. I think specifically this player was accused of toxicity.
Oh,
but,
okay.
I mean,
but still,
being announced that you're a toxic person in front of the whole of 4,000 people. I think it was 4,000. It was not everyone, so it was 4,000 people.
Yeah, Jesus.
I think that's like pretty on par. But yeah, Chiquito, you have any thoughts?
Well,
no, you go on.
Okay, so you did mention that how IVRL did their thing. They posted evidence, and it was pretty public evidence, right, about what these players did. The scary part about that could ruin a lot of stuff for you, right?
Yeah.
That's a pretty big digital footprint that you're leaving there. And I mean, yes, you want to expose the people that are like actual racists and menaces to society, but what if they want to change, right? They want to change. They want to do something better. 5 years down the line, they're actually a good person, and then bam, this thing comes out. Look what you did here 5 years ago. You did this whole thing. I mean, it's kind of scary, especially like how we mentioned the majority of these people are 15 to 16 years old. So it's like, I don't think it's a good idea to make that stuff public. I think it's fair to have it private and not be public with the information that they have. Maybe they can approach the people before they issue out an announcement that these people were doing this. I think the best thing they could do is approach them first, ask them, see what was going on, and then decide on what to do.
Yeah. I really agree with that, because
that makes sense.
Even the best moderators and the best admins, you know what? Everyone in this entire scene literally is a volunteer, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like
people make mistakes. I mean, it happens.
The people are going to make mistakes. You have to let people peel their punishments and say, hey, you've made this slight but important oversight. Like, honestly, telling who someone is in VR is not easy. I'll give that to them. Telling voice identification in VR can be really tricky. And so this is a mistake that I've made. This is a mistake I know many league admins have made. Identification of a player, if they're using an alias or a different account, is really tough. And so I understand how this mistake could have been made, but I just don't understand why they didn't go to these people before they announced it. Why they didn't say, here's our evidence. Here is I mean, in the United States, you have a right to defend yourself.
Yeah.
There's no unilateral decision, right? I think you should always give players some sort of like, hey, just even though this might be a open and shut case, you've got one chance to tell us, right?
Yeah, I fully agree.
I think this whole situation, which, let's be honest, it does not look great on VRML. The way that they dealt with it, their transparency in the end, that's fine. Saying, oh, sorry, we messed this up. But you know what I honestly want to see? I want to see some process changes. I want to see, how is this not going to happen in the future, right? Like, this is just, I know it hasn't happened a lot, but it cannot happen again, right? That's my opinion. This is so easily avoidable. You know.
Definitely.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the same thing did happen in IVRL on the same topic, where a long time ago, a team called Solaris got banned for quote unquote match fixing. And from what I remember, they were not given any chance to defend themselves. As someone who played for that team for a very short amount of time, I have seen some of this type of stuff, so I do know some stuff about it. But they were just told one day in the middle of almost a league match, like in the middle of the league, the admins approached them and said, "Hey, you guys are banned. Your captain is banned, your team is banned, your players are banned, and there's nothing you can do about it because of these 3 rules right here. You have no right to defend yourself. You can't really discuss or try and bring up evidence as of, the whole situation." And it just felt so hopeless, right? I mean, especially if you are in a situation where you're the person being banned, you're playing on a team where you did nothing, but your captain did something stupid, which ended up getting you and your team banned, and you got no right to message the admins, right? And I remember some of our players did try and do that. We sent DMs to the admins, we opened tickets, and they instantly got denied and shut down, and our players got timed out in the Discord server. So I definitely agree that people have the right to defend themselves, even if it is a situation where the evidence is very, very clear. People should still have the ability to explain themselves or to apologize.
Do you think
100%.
Do you think that applies in the most recent hacking case, or do you think that?
I think it does,
because Triangle Factory is. So you believe that Triangle Factory should have, should give them some way to defend themselves? I think the evidence is.
It's very clear, but
I've heard that it is. A good word is irrefutable.
Right.
But
I still feel like the person who got banned should have gotten a chance. I mean, maybe they did get a chance. We don't know about that, but they should have gotten a chance.
Maybe not.
Actually, no. I can tell you for a fact they did not get a chance.
Never mind then.
I talked with the alleged cheater, and they said that they woke up, they had 100,000 pings, and they were banned from features.
Damn.
And no messages. And even their team captain, I had a wonderful discussion with the captain of team, and I said, "Hey, did you guys get any warning?" And he said, "You are telling me things about this situation that I did not know.
Yeah,
we knew nothing." And you know what? As organization leaders, that's kind of scary.
Yeah, it is really scary. Yeah,
that's really scary. So I think, I don't know. I think an audit process, even though Triangle Factory is a company, as you were saying,
they're very professional. They know what they're doing. Yeah, but I mean, as you said with Acer, if I get a random DM someday and I get told that a couple of our players in one of our leagues got banned and just out of nowhere, I want to be informed.
Worst case.
I want to know about this before it happens.
Yeah,
definitely. And I mean, I know I mentioned earlier, I said they want to set an example, so it makes sense why they did this. I do also. I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just saying that's what they were probably going with. What I would say is better is they should have at least gone a heads up. Maybe not a chance to, if it was irrefutable, maybe not a chance, but a heads up, like, look, we caught you doing this. Here's the evidence. If it's really irrefutable, there's nothing they can say about it that's like, oh no, I wasn't cheating. So yeah, but it could cause a lot of problems if it's, maybe it's like a team captain, bam, ban, there and done. It could crumble the whole team. So at least given a heads up, you can prepare. Like, okay, this is what we're going to do following this or something.
I mean, yeah, exactly. If I get banned, out of absolutely nowhere, if I have I'm just saying, as an example, if I have the ability to prepare maybe 2 days to try, say goodbye to the communities before I get instantly cut off, that I would prefer that rather than just waking up and bam, you're gone. This is gone. That is gone. Your team is gone. It's all gone. And just out of absolutely nowhere.
I'll rock, paper, scissors you for it, Taquito.
For Acer.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, if I get banned, you guys will have to 1v1. What game? Hyperdash? Veil?
What game? Tetris.
We can do it right here. Hyperdash, right behind me.
Yep. No, God, no, not Tetris. But, oh, bye.
Oh, God.
Hey, wait. All
right, so we want wanting? Who wants to shotgun?
I don't want it. Honestly, it's probably a lot of work. I think God can handle it.
Yeah, there's a lot of work. I do a lot of things. Totally. With that said, do we have anything else we want to bring up?
I think that's pretty much it.
We covered a lot of things here.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think we let us know in the comments, please, how you feel about us doing slightly more news and less Aesir lore and trivia. And hopefully we can do more stuff like this for you guys in the future. There's no really good source to learn about what's going on in the VR esports space, and we think it's small enough that we can do a reasonably good job.
Yeah.
If you guys have any questions, any comments, any concerns, anything, please either DM us or drop them in the comments. We love feedback. Any and all feedback is amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks you guys so much for watching.
See ya.